Hi there, vinyl community. This is Tom from Rant District. I'm posting a response to Matthew Smith's video from I think yesterday, where he really stirred up some questions in my head, and there's not a quick comment answer to give to these questions. He was asking, when's this Beatles thing going to end? Talking about the resurgence, if you want to call it a resurgence, of interest in the Beatles. And also, he was asking if vinyl is just a fad and will it go the way of the dinosaur. There's I think to one question there's a very clear answer, and to the other question I think things are kind of fuzzy. This is just my opinion. Opinions differ, though mine tend to be right. First question: when's this Beatles thing going to end? Matt, we're about the same age, and I think most people will agree, especially who are around our age. When we didn't, when we were kids, we didn't have as many distractions. We didn't have high-speed internet access and 500 bazillion TV channels, and we didn't have our attention going in a million directions. Music was very much the soundtrack of our lives. You hear a song, and an old song, and you're like, oh, you're transported right away to like, oh, you're with this person, or you're at this time, or this great thing happened, or this sad thing happened, or this thing was going on politically, socially, economically. It's the music really matters, but it matters on a personal level, and because I think the music is very personal, I think once the people to whom it is personal pass on, that's kind of going to be the end of it. I mean, certainly, as you mentioned, there will always be, the Beatles will be revered historically, but not perhaps personally. They started out like any other band in the 60s, doing a lot of covers, and their songwriting progressed, and then they did weird stuff, like saying, we're gonna make songs in the studio that really can't be replicated out, on tour, because we don't really plan on touring anymore, but we want to be more creative. So there was a lot of things going on, and lyrically, Beatles were touching on some pretty significant social issues. If you were alive during that time, and you're probably a little bit older than both myself and Matthew, you had it was racist times. It was Vietnam War. A lot of young folks were rebelling against society. Society was going through a lot of changes, and the Beatles were there as that were happening, and their music reflected what was going on. And so the Beatles are personal to a lot of people. Once we are not around anymore, there's really no, the historical significance will be there, but personally it won't. The real importance to a person, it won't be there. As far as like how many times can they keep selling Beatles reissues to us, I don't know. I recently picked up the Beatles in mono vinyl box set. I wanted the Beatles records to be as they were originally released, which primarily means the UK version, not the US issue. And they were originally done in mono, so that's kind of how I wanted to hear it. So, if I've got, the bulk of their work right now in mono, and theoretically, they're done from, I believe, the Analog Masters at Abbey Road. What's the next thing you're going to sell me? The 50th anniversary, 60th, or whatever it is. I have what I need. I don't think I need to purchase it anymore. And the Beatles are important to people who are in, I think, our age group. They're important personally, and who are a bit older. Now, say we're both around 50. You got about 15 more years where we're still, making decent money, hopefully. And, we've got the discretionary income to spend on what's an increasingly expensive hobby. Vinyl is, pretty expensive, especially when you compare it to a CD or a download. And, you know, once we hit, you know, retirement age, the discretionary income probably goes down, especially as related to other things. You know, healthcare costs keep climbing. You know, I know here in the United States we've got the Affordable Care Act. I wish when, you know, the Democrats had control of the presidency and, you know, both houses in Congress, when they had control and could really do something, we could have nationalized healthcare. And we didn't. You know, we were all idealistic about, you know, the Democrats in place at the time and thought, you know, yeah, this is different. And we neglected to remember that, you know, Democrats, Republicans, they're all politicians. They're not beholden to the taxpayers. They're beholden to the people who contribute to their election campaigns. And, you know, that's the insurance companies, that's pharmaceutical companies, and a billion other industries. And, you know, that, you know, sorry, I'm going on a rant. I'll get off this rant. But, you know, we could have done something, and we didn't. You know, healthcare is for everybody, not just people who can write a check for it. Anyway. So, you know, I'd say maybe 15 more years. And then the Beatles are kind of, you know, done as being a humongous moneymaker. So there's that. As far as so will the Beatles thing end? You know, I'd say yeah, it's going to end. It'll end when we end. As for your other primary question, is vinyl just a fad? Will it go the way of the dinosaur? There's so many different factors that go into that. I couldn't really hazard a guess. You know, at record store day, you know, it's great seeing, you know, like I saw like, you know, like 12-year-old girl super excited about a particular album that, you know, she got her hands on, or her dad was buying for her, or her mom. And, you know, it's great to see that sort of enthusiasm, you know, in a kid. So many factors go into this, you know, it's there's price. You know, new records are, I understand that you know, it's a bigger format, it's heavier, it's got more paper around it. There's a higher cost to ship it due to the weight compared to a CD or, you know, a digital file. So, and I think, you know, because there is a kind of a fad element to things going on right now, manufacturers and, you know, retailers are able to extract a higher price from us. So it depends, you know, will the price kind of stay where it is now, or is it going to keep climbing? Because I think you're kind of close to pricing people out right now. Will it go the way of the dinosaur? You know, it's funny that you say dinosaur. You know, what's a vinyl record made out of? You know, it's PVC, polyvinyl chloride, so it's made out of petroleum. You know, it's made out of dinosaurs, and it's made out of salt. You know, I'm not a chemist. Those are the basic building blocks. But, you know, if we ever get to the point where, you know, petroleum dries up, you know, or, you know, heaven forbid we get into another major war where, you know, for the first time since, you know, the late 70s, we have a president here in the United States who actually asks us to, or tells us, you know, hey, we need to conserve. Then the frivolous sort of stuff, which is going to be like vinyl records, like putting petroleum towards making PVC for vinyl records, is probably something that would have to be dialed back. Driving records or flying them around the country, you know, very, very heavy product, that's probably going to decline. You know, are these scenarios likely? Is it likely that, you know, we're going to get into another world war or something? I hope not. You know, things are weird on the planet right now, but I hope not. So, you know, you got price, you know, you got raw materials. Are raw materials available? And depends on how the record companies, you know, the manufacturers, distributors approach this. You know, when I was younger, like as an early adult and as a kid, I liked sports cards, and I kind of see what happened to the sports cards industry. Kind of see what happened there, sort of creeping into the vinyl industry. Um, like you wanted hockey cards. You had Topps and you had O-Pee-Chee. Same with baseball cards. And then all of a sudden, 80s, early 90s, a lot more manufacturers came into play, and all of a sudden, Upper Deck comes in, and there's, not just an Upper Deck set, but there's an Upper Deck exclusive set, highly limited, super premium, expensive. You got to buy this one, and then it's like, how many different forms of a record or a sports card do you need? But it's, there's purposely limited quantities put out to try to, if the object itself doesn't merit purchase, the exclusivity of it does. And this is where you bring investors into things. And, there's nothing wrong with investors. Some people buy music for the enjoyment. Same with sports cards. Some buy them for investment purposes. One's not right, one's not wrong. Things just are, and these are just the things that influence what happens. But if you're talking about, a new record comes out and it's, there's going to be like X amount on black vinyl, but 100 of them are on, blood red vinyl or what have you. You kind of like, you make an exclusive thing that maybe people are buying it because it's exclusive and not really for the music. I'd be happy if everything was just on black vinyl and it was just, that was just the version of it, and you bought it for the music and the color of it didn't matter. Hey, this record's, readily available used, but it's record store day, marketing. And, everybody loves record store days. I enjoyed it this past year. But a lot of it is just reissues. And then, it's kind of like, because on record store day, so much of what's out there is just reissues, and record store day gets more and more popular. Pressing plants are, right now they're kind of finite. There's only so many record pressing plants, and all the energy is going towards, and the resources is going towards making, record store day reissues available. A new band who's just trying to get, like 300 copies pressed is waiting, 6 months for their record, the vinyl version of their record to come out. They're waiting, but they're, it's coming up to tour season. So instead of waiting for the record to come out and delivering, the CD, the vinyl record, and the digital files all at the same time, digital files are coming out right away and CDs coming out right away. And then they're just waiting, for the pressing plants to deliver the vinyl to them. So there's a new buzz around this new band, and you've already got the music. You either downloaded it or you got it on CD. Now 3 months later, 4 months later, when the vinyl record is finally available, do you get it? How many times are you going to buy something? So I think another issue is plants running at capacity, and unless I think you get more plants, or unless there's a dialing back of issuing reissues, which record companies are business people, they know what sells, and the tried and true stuff that's already been released and already sold, of course they're gonna do more of that. But so there's so much in play here. Are you hurting the bands right now? And you're probably not hurting them, but you're hurting the vinyl sales of what they have, I think, because again, digital CD are coming out, and then months later, is the vinyl version. Might I get the new D'Angelo record when it comes out? I might, because I haven't bought it in CD or digital form, which are already out. But to my knowledge, maybe it's out by now. But the vinyl was not ready to go on day one. It got leaked, and then they pushed stuff out. So after this happens long enough, after if it becomes the norm that the CD version and the digital version of music comes out way before the vinyl version comes out, does that hurt vinyl sales? Or does it hurt, not hurt, but does it affect the formats in which people buy music? So there's just so many different things, so many different factors to whether, is vinyl a fad? Will it last? I don't know. That's kind of personal, and I just don't know. A lot of factors go into it. I hope it does last. It's different, as I get older. In particular, I find myself kind of regressing. I'd rather play. I work in front of a computer all day, and I think a lot of people are around computers all day. So that when it comes time for recreation, I don't always want to be in front of the computer. I don't want to play a computer game. I want to play a board game. I'm kind of going backwards. I don't necessarily want to hit play on a digital file. I want to grab, a record, take it out, read, something physical in my hands, read the liner notes, read the lyrics, play the record, interact, after like 15, 20 minutes when the one side's over, flip it over. So it's a lifestyle thing right now, and, do the, kids of today, their lifestyle just may be such that, everything's digital for them. iPhones, iPads, digital tablets, what have you. It's how their lives are, and that just may be the way things go. And it's just it is what it is. I wish I had a less rambling, babbling answer. I can see I'm at 16 minutes and change here, so I'm gonna wrap this up. When's this Beatles thing gonna end? 15 to 20 years. When people our age are no longer either around buying records or financially able to spend a crazy amount of money on music. Is vinyl just a fad? I don't think it's just a fad, but I think there are external factors that will affect whether the percentage of music that is sold each year keeps on climbing, where the vinyl purchases keep on climbing as a percentage of the overall music sold. So, we'll see. Thanks for watching, and man, Matt, great questions. This could be talked about all day, all week, all month, all year. Great questions. Thanks for asking them.